now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Edward Pollard, and I am welcoming you to our third digital dialogue for ACTLA. We are hosting Student Support Redefined, what students say about the support they need to succeed. And we are privileged to have our keynote speaker from our conference that we put online now through 3 digital dialogues. We'd like to thank the ACTLA board. They'll be here to be co-moderators as well as behind the scenes. As you have questions, please type them into the chat. But we will have our presentation by Dr. Darla Cooper. And let me introduce Dr. Darla Cooper at this point in time. Dr. Darla Cooper is an educational leader and expert in research and evaluation. She is also the Executive Director for the Research and Planning Group for the California Community Colleges, known as the RP Group. Dr. Cooper has worked in the California Community College system for over 20 years, having previously held institutional research director positions at Santa Barbara City College, Oxnard College, and Ohlone College. We are graced with her presence as she has had direct experience working with students in achieving their goals at the University of Southern California, as well as being the Director of Research and Information, a Student Services Counselor, an Ombudsperson. She holds her bachelor's in psychology from UC San Diego and a master's and doctorate in education from the University of Southern California. We want to welcome with open arms Dr. Darla Cooper. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Edward. I'll share my screen, get us started. Again, thank you for having me. I was very excited to have this opportunity to share with a broader audience some of the work that we've done around student support and student success, and tying it to the work of learning support professionals. So if you're not familiar with our organization, we are an independent nonprofit that serves the California Community College system through primarily research, professional development, and some technical assistance. We are also a membership organization representing the researchers and planners that work at the California Community College. So today I'm going to start with an overview of Student Support Redefined. I'm going to talk briefly about how it intersects with guided pathways. And then I want to get into the role of tutors in student success and share with you a new resource, fresh off the presses, not literal, of course, the electronic presses, of a 10 ways tutors can support student success document. And left time at the end for questions, but feel free to ask your questions throughout as well. So, Student Support Redefined, what is it? At its core, it was a research study that we did, and this was our research question at the time. And it looks like it might be possibly circling around again in terms of how can we support our students in the classroom, outside the classroom, to help them be successful. And as you can see at the end of this question, we did pay particular attention to African American and Latino, Latinx students to find out if there were any differences in what they described as being helpful to their success compared to other students. So in summary, the study was conducted in 2012 to 2014 at 13 community colleges across the state. We were able to be in touch with about 900 students through a phone survey and through some follow-up focus groups that we did. We contacted students who were either currently enrolled, had recently graduated with a degree or certificate, or who had stopped out at least one semester. Following up the studies, we wanted to make this research actionable. And so after we came out with the initial report and started to share that around the state, we got feedback from people in terms of what else do you need? What would be helpful? How do we help put this research in such a way that it is actionable? And that resulted in some additional resources including action guides, providing examples of colleges that were implementing what we learned from the study. We conducted regional convenings and again, created some other tools. And all of that is on our website, and there's a link at the end of the presentation. So all of this comes down to what we call the 6 success factors. And I'm going to take you through each of those sharing with you a quote from a student in the study who participated in the focus group, just to give you a little bit of context. And please note that the order in which that I am sharing these factors are the order in which the students prioritize them as important to their success. So the first one that they prioritized is this idea of being directed. And that is defined as a student has a goal and also knows what to do to achieve that goal. So this particular quote is from a student who represents some portion of many of the students on our campuses who is not exactly sure why they're attending college. A lot of our students do come with a clear idea. Some have a somewhat of an idea, and others come to us because their parents make them, because that's what you do after high school, because that's where all my friends went. And this particular student was one of those. And it was a caring professor who reached out to her and just asked her in a caring, again, and concerned way, why are you in college? What is it that you are trying to pursue? And what I love about this quote is that her initial reaction to this question, or response to this question, was fun and stuff. And personally, I have nothing against fun or stuff, whatever that is, but as an educator, I'm not sure I want that to be students' first answer to the question of why they are attending college. But in this particular case, it was being asked that question in that caring and concerned way that helped this student start to see, oh, maybe I should have a purpose. Maybe I should figure out why I'm in college and start heading towards some kind of a goal. The next factor is focused. And again, this is the idea of keeping your eye on the prize. It's doing the daily work that it takes to get through school. It's going to class, it's doing your homework, it's study skills, time management, organization, all of those things you have to do kind of on a daily basis to keep going. It also includes motivation. We all need motivation to keep going as well. And we like to share this particular quote because this is something that we don't always maybe put 2 and 2 together. Most colleges have some kind of a degree works or some kind of tool that it allows counselors and or students to track their progress towards meeting goals. And that's obviously a very practical tool for obvious reasons. But what we didn't know, or we may not know, is that students also use that tool to help with their motivation. When they're feeling down, when they're feeling like a failure, sometimes they've gotten a bad grade, something like that, they can go into these kinds of programs and see how much progress they've made. They can see evidence that they are successful. They can see how close they are to reaching their goal. And it helps them, kind of buck themselves up and get back on track. And I should also mention, directed and focused, when we talk to students, they saw them as inextricably linked in terms of success. And focused came in a very close second to directed in the prioritization. And when we asked students about it, they basically said, you can't be successful without both. You must have direction, you must have focus, and they affect each other. So the third factor that students prioritized is nurtured. And what was interesting about this one is when we first put this factor out there, we got a bit of pushback. We got people saying, that's not my job. I'm not going to baby students. I'm not going to mother them. I'm not going to lower my expectations. But when we talked to students, it really came down to one simple thing. Does anybody care? Does anybody know my name? Does anybody know anything about me? Anybody know my dreams, my hopes, my goals, my struggles, my challenges, my history? Does anybody notice if I'm not here? Does anybody notice if I am here? Does anybody care if I fail? Does anyone care if I succeed? This quote is from actually one of the focus groups that I did. I still remember this gentleman. He was an older gentleman. He had immigrated here from Iran, and he had gone to his local community college to try to improve his English. And the typical story we all hear, he got bounced around, not my job, try over there, and nobody was really helping him figure out what he needed to do to get to register for these classes. And he wandered into DSPS, which stands for Disabled Students Programs and Services in the California Community Colleges, or Disabled Students Office. And the woman that sits at the front desk stopped what she was doing and helped him. Was that her job? Probably not. She's not a disabled student, wasn't registered with the program, but she helped him figure out what he needed to do. And the important part of this is that by the time I was talking to this gentleman in the focus group, it was years later, the situation he was describing. And he was sharing that he was almost done with his associate degree in business at this point in time. The key again is that he mentioned her. He brought her up as when asked about who helped him, who cared about him. And that means something. For you bring up a woman who he met years ago to help him, and he's almost reached at least his immediate goal or imminent goal of getting an associate's degree. The other thing I want to point out with this one is that I want you to think about how that made her feel. That this man is crediting her for some part, playing some kind of role, some important role in his success. Now, if she hadn't helped him, would he still have registered? Maybe. Might he have gone to a different college because of that experience? Maybe. But because she took that time, he kept going and again, attributed at least part of his success to her actions. So the next one is engaged. And this is the idea that students are active participants in their learning, and that learning happens in and out of the classroom, right? So this quote is from a student who I would probably describe, many of us might describe as a student who, quote unquote, gets it, understands the importance of engagement, understands that if you're not going to engage, if you're not going to be that active learner, then what are you doing? You're not getting the maximum benefit of your college education. So I said, this is usually, again, when we're in person, when I often ask the audience, what percentage of their population, their student population, do they think this student represents? And the answers span the spectrum from very optimistic to very pessimistic. So it might be something you want to think about on your own campus, about how many, what do your students look like compared to this student, and how she views engagement. The other thing I want to point out about this one is that when we did the focus groups, there was always at least one student when we got to the question about engage that said, why? Why do I need to be engaged? I go to class, I do the work, I take the test, I write the paper, I get the grade, I move on. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do? What else is there? And extracurricular? I don't have time for that. Why would I do that? What's in it for me? This is a place where I think we could probably do a better job as an entire system of telling our students the why. Why do we do this? Why do we make them do what we make them do? What's in it for them? How does it benefit? I also like to share for those of you, if you haven't read The Student Fear Factor by Rebecca Cox, I recommend it. It's a very short read, but she did a study in the California Community College system with students in like a freshman comp class. And she observed the class, talked to the teacher, and then also talked to the students. And what she observed in terms of the class was a teacher who most educators like us would look at and go, what a great teacher. She's mixing it up. She's dealing with different learning styles. She's got different pedagogical approaches. This is great. But when she talked to the students about it, the students' reaction was, ugh, she's horrible. She doesn't know how to teach. And my favorite part of their statement was, She's making us do all the work. It's weird doing this without the audience. I usually get to hear laughter at that point in time. This is new for me. But the whole point was that the teacher never told her students why. Why was she making them do peer review? Why was she making them do all the work? I think we could do a better job of explaining to our students the why of it. And I'm not saying that by doing that, all the students are not going to go, yay, thank you, awesome, I'm totally in. But if you can at least get some students to go, well, okay, I see now. Those are often the students that will remember you and remember that class and remember what they learned because you made them do all the work and you told them why. All right. Next one, connected. I think we all kind of know what it feels like to be connected, to feel like you are part of something larger than yourself, that you are, that sense of belonging, right? This particular quote is from a student who, you know, it really tied it all together. That's one reason why I really like this quote, is because it showed, if you think back to that graphic I shared about the factors, if you notice, they were all connected to each other. There were lines going every which way. And this quote is really good at illustrating that. So if you follow with me, if you go about halfway down where it says, whereas you can have a professor that fully engages you. So, okay, I asked about connected, but now I also have engaged, right? Then you keep reading, right? You can see he really cares. So now I've got nurturing, right? Then the very last sentence, you're more motivated. So now that's focused. So this example is great, again, to show that you can hit multiple factors at one time. We don't usually, you know, the idea here is not that you take the student and say, okay, today I'm going to help you find direction. Come back tomorrow and I will nurture you. That's not how the factors work. It's what you are doing is taking the factors into account. The other thing I really like to point out with this particular quote is that if you read it, you can see that there's nothing in here where the student talks about a personal relationship with the faculty member. There's nothing that says he did this for me, he met with me, he took time with me. What she's describing is how he approaches his teaching. So there's something about how he approaches his work every day that is helping this particular student experience 4 of the 6 factors. Okay? So the important point for us is to remember that a lot of what students get from us comes out of what we do every day, our daily walk, our daily work, right? So just remembering that. This is also the place where I share back when I was a counselor. I had a student come up to me and didn't know this student, didn't recognize this student, and he wanted to thank me. And I'm very curious as to what he wants to thank me for because I don't recognize him. And I used to counsel students who were on academic probation. He says to me, I just wanted to thank you so much because when I was a freshman, I was on academic probation. I had to come see you in order to get registered. And you did 2 things for me. First of all, you gave me the what for, because this particular student was on probation because he got, let's say, distracted with college life, okay? And wasn't putting school first. And the second thing I did in addition to that was to help him understand what he needed to do to get off probation. So give him some specific information, tools that he needed so that he could set his course to get off of probation. And so he was thanking me because at this point in time, he was getting ready to graduate. And so he just felt he didn't have to come up to me. He didn't have to say anything to me. But it was just illustrates that a lot of times you have big impacts on students' lives without even knowing it. Just like a kind word, taking 5 minutes to listen, showing that care and concern can sit with students, can last them to the point where years later, having not seen you in between, they thank you for what you did for them. So again, just remembering that I think is key. The last one is valued, and I want to make a point here that even though it came in last, um, it's still really important to students. And this is actually one of the areas where African American and Latinos, Latinx students were more likely to say it was important than students from other races and ethnicities. I think we all kind of inherently know what it feels like to be valued, you know, that sense that you have something to offer, and that when you are, and you have an opportunity to offer that, and that when you do, it's appreciated, right? So we asked students, well, what makes you feel valuable? And the top two answers were helping other students, tutors, big one in that one, and secondly, ask me for my opinion. So with the first one, that helping other students, we saw it in both formal and informal ways. Formal obviously being having a role like a tutor or working, you know, at the front window of some, you know, office on campus. We also saw it in informal ways. Students talked a lot about giving other students advice about what classes to take, when to take them, which teachers to take, how to get through financial aid, those kinds of things. And they beamed when they talked about how they were able to help another student by providing, you know, guidance or advice. So what we can do is make sure that we are giving students those a variety of opportunities to contribute. And it's not always going to be student government or student clubs, because that doesn't fit with every student's schedule or interest. But finding ways, you know, in the classroom, in the tutoring relationship, to help that student feel valued, feel that what they have to contribute matters. The second one I mentioned is ask me for my opinion, right? So most of us do surveys, right? All over doing lots of surveys. I know before all of this happened, I used to travel a lot, and I got a lot of surveys from every hotel, every airline, every train, every travel thing. Now, if someone said, do I feel valued because they're surveying me? Probably not. If maybe somebody reached out to me personally, that might make some difference, that they're making, you know, some kind of an effort. So again, it's just really thinking through how can you get those student voices. And it doesn't always have to be formal, like a focus group. It can be conversational in terms of how are you doing? What's happening? What's working? What's not working? Okay. This particular quote is from an older student. I know older in our context usually means 26, but this student is typical of a lot of older students. Sometimes, depending on what classes you're taking, you might find yourself in a room with students who are, you know, in that 18 to 20-year-old phase, and you don't relate. And especially if you're the only or one of the few older students, you may self-isolate, right? You may kind of stay away because they're just in a different place than you are in your life. Well, this particular case, the faculty member drew her in and showed her what the value that she had to contribute by sharing her experience with the rest of the class, and that made her feel valued. So again, I think this is some place where we can do a better job of helping students find the places where they can feel valued. So we had to boil all of this down. There was a lot of information. If you recall, we had about 800 or so telephone interviews that had lasted 20 minutes on average. So a lot of data there. We also had 12 focus groups that we did. So we wanted to try to boil it down and come up with some key themes that we hope people walk away with. First of all, colleges need to foster students' motivation. What that doesn't mean is that the college needs to take the responsibility for students' motivation. Most students understand that their motivation is their responsibility. But the college can look at its policies, its practices, how you interact with students to make sure that what you're doing is not hindering students' motivation. So it's really asking yourself, are you part of the problem? Or are you part of the solution? Are you putting up barriers that students bang their head up against until they finally give up? Or are you putting springboards in place that you know help motivate students further? So again, just looking at your role, that role that you can play in students' motivation. The second theme is that we cannot assume that students know what it takes to be a successful college student. I have talked to, and I'm sure lots of you have, they don't necessarily come with the understanding of how much time it takes. They don't necessarily have the study skills. They don't necessarily know how to organize their notes. They don't know time management. There's a lot of things that it takes to be a successful student, and they either don't know that's what it takes or they don't know how. And so we need to not make assumptions about what students know and don't know and can and can't do regarding being a successful college student. The third item is really just, every student is different. And this is not about trying to force the 6 factors on all students in the same way. Different students need things at different times. They need things in different intensities, different modalities. So we need to be making sure that whatever we're doing, we're covering the 6 factors such that a student will be able to access whatever he or she needs when he or she needs it, okay? The fourth one is about equity, and that if we're going to really move the needle, if we're going to close those equity gaps, we're going to have to start moving towards more comprehensive scaled efforts in order to move more students towards success and close those equity gaps. And then the last one is, it's listed last, but it's probably, in my opinion, the most important one is to acknowledge and then support people so that they can fulfill this role in terms of everyone has a role to play in student success. It doesn't matter what your job description is. It doesn't matter where you work within the organization. Everyone has a role to play in student success. All right, so I'm going to pause and see if there's anything you all wanted to ask me from the chat. Yes?
This is Edward. I've been looking at the chat, and people are talking about the why. I think that came up early on. The why, how you talked about the why and how important that is. Can you expand a little bit about that? Because we all kind of assume what we mean by the why when we ask students, but perhaps expand a little bit on that.
The why in terms of?
Why students are, why are you in college?
Oh,
you coming
okay.
to the center, the Learning Assistance Tutoring Center.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I did have a case where I did this presentation, and that slide where the professor was asking, why are you in college? Someone read that with a very different tone. That's why if you heard me say multiple times, caring, concern, because the way they heard it in their mind was, why are you in college? What are you doing here? And so I, obviously have to caution, please don't do that. That is not the intention here. It's showing, again, that caring, concern, and helping students see that the why is not so much important to you. It is important to them, for them to have their why, for them to be asking that of themselves, not so much to answer you because you need the answer. I mean, obviously, if they give you the answer, it might give you information you can use to help them, to guide them, to refer them to those kinds of things. But I think it's really helping them see how that them having their why is the most important part.
Thank you.
Sure. Should I move on?
Yeah, that's all that's come up so far. I think people are talking to each other in the chat as well.
Of course. Okay, so I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about how Student Support Redefined, the 6 factors, integrates and intersects with guided pathways. So we had done Student Support Redefined before guided pathways movement really got ahead of steam there. And as we started to hear about it, we said, that sounds awfully familiar. That a lot of what guided pathways is overlaps with what we heard from students in terms of what helps them be successful and the 6 factors. And different people kept coming up to us and saying, you're hearing about this guided pathway stuff, right? Isn't that kind of what you were doing? Or how does that connect? How do we connect the two? And we thought that's a really good question. And instead of making people figure it out on their own, we actually created a tool. So I will share that with you on the next slide. But again, for those of you who may or may not be familiar with guided pathways, these are the 4 pillars focusing on creating clear pathways, helping students get on their pathway, making sure they stay on their pathway to completion, and that all along the way they are learning. So that's in very short form, because I can do a whole presentation on guided pathways, obviously, but that's just to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page with that. So what we did was we created this crosswalk, and what it really does is it takes the 6 factors and crosswalks them with the 4 pillars, and then it gives concrete examples of what that might look like. Different activities, again, what are those intersections, and then it has just a little section at the end that of discussion questions that you might use. And so I said, we did this a while ago. We're actually in the process of trying to update it because we did this, again, pretty early on after Guided Pathways was being introduced. So you can look for that update in the next couple of months, I think we're hoping for. But we're hoping that it's a tool to ground people, and especially because we, again, Student Support Redefined was already out there and people were asking these questions. And so I think the colleges who had already kind of embraced the Student Support Redefined and the 6 factors found this tool to be very helpful in terms of connecting what they had already been doing to Guided Pathways. I want to make sure that we share that. Okay. The role of tutors in student success and our new 10 ways document, which we will be sharing with you, not yet. I'll tell you when. So I first want to talk about, this is a graphic that we came up with trying to, again, illustrate that last theme about everyone has an important role to play, but it also, we wanted to show that how students see things and how we see things are often not the same. And so what you'll see there on the, I believe it'll be the left for you. I don't know, Zoom has this whole mirroring thing, so my right hand's not my right hand. And so I'm hoping this is on the left for you as well, where you'll see org charts, right? And this is how we often see ourselves. We organize ourselves into these org charts. We have, this department reports to this department doesn't get along with that department, whatever our own drama is. But that's how we often see ourselves. What you have on the right there is what a student sees and what a student experiences. And so you've got the student there in the center. And what it all boils down to is that we're all just people. It doesn't matter where we work within the organization. We're all just people, and we fall into 2 categories. Either you're going to help me or you're not. And you need to decide which group you want to be in. And I do want to call special attention to the person that's right under the student, the patient tutor. So we made sure that we had tutoring represented in this graphic. So that leads into, we created these 2, what we call the 10 ways briefs. And these were actually part of what I was mentioning earlier of this project being a bit iterative after we came out with the results and asking people, well, what do you need? What would be helpful? And these were not our ideas. They came from the field where someone said, well, can you give me like a top 10 list of things that faculty can do to support student success? And I said, yes, I can. So we went back in, through the data, and we found that the students had told us specific things that faculty had done that helped them be successful. So the key point here is that none of this is hypothetical. These are things that the students said helped them. So once we did that, the next question, obvious question was, well, what about everybody else? So then we created a second document that tried to cover anyone who was not faculty on campus, and again, illustrate that everyone can support student success, regardless of your role. So we came out with these 2, and then what happened was a while later, I've known Vandana for a few years now, and she and I were having a conversation about something else entirely. And she mentioned that she had been using the 6 factors with her tutors and as part of her tutor training. And I was like, whoa, what is this? What is happening? What are you saying? Tell me more. I want to know more. And so it really just started with this discussion of her sharing how she had been using the factors, with her tutors and in her tutor program. And we said, I think we need to share this. I think other people can benefit from this. And then I was like, what about a 10 ways document, you know, like the other two? And then for longer than we care to share with you, we worked on this for a while together, really to make sure that we were recognizing that role, that very important role that tutoring and learning support plays in student success. Now, again, this one was designed a little bit differently than the other two because I did go back through the data. Yes, I still have it. I went back through the data to see if I could find references to the tutors. And we did find some, but not surprisingly, it's not as much as we heard from about faculty or counselors, instructors, different classified staff positions. But they were mentioned in there. And there were also several mentions of the tutoring center or other writing centers, math labs. There were several mentions of how important those services were to student success. So while we weren't able to do it exactly the same way that we did the other two, leaning heavily on Vandana's extensive experience in this area and lots of resources, we came up with the 10 ways in such a way that they are consistent with what we did find in the data. The other thing we did differently here was this accompanying piece, this companion piece about recognizing the tutor coordinators. Because if you think about it, the other two that we did, faculty and everyone, I mean, a lot of classified professionals and the administrators, we are able to speak directly to those people when we go on campuses, when we're at conferences. But a lot of times the tutors, we don't have direct access to the tutors. We need to go through the tutor coordinators, those learning support professionals. And we wanted to recognize that and recognize the importance of that role and supporting tutors and supporting tutoring programs, and acknowledging that these 10 ways, this 10 ways document would need to go through those tutor coordinators, those learning support professionals, to use it in their work with tutors, since we would not directly give it to the tutors, so to speak. And then the other thing we did was, once we kind of put this all together, we shared it with a small group of learning support professionals and some teaching faculty to get their feedback on it. And it was, for those of you who participated in that, I would thank you for that. We believe it made it better. So thank you. Okay, now you can
Dr.
share
Cooper,
it. Yes.
as we're sharing the documents, there's a question that's overarching about the study that you were citing from the previous slides and the foundation that you set up.
Sure.
And it was, did the study focus, the study focused on African American and Latinx specifically. Was there any findings with gender and race? And so that was an overarching question that I wanted to ask you that now, whether you want to address that now or whether you want to wait until you get through this.
I can address it very quickly. Yes, there were some differences. We did look at the intersectionality of race and gender, but some of the cell sizes got a little bit too small to draw conclusions from. But if at the end of this presentation, there is a link to the project's webpage, and in the full report, there is a whole section on all the differences that we found, because we also looked at financial aid, EOPS, the SPS. We looked at several factors in addition to race. So all of that is in that full report.
And that's on the RP website?
Yes, and I said there's a link to it at the end of this presentation, and I will be providing this presentation to ACTLA for them to post on their website as well.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
No problem. All right, so I can't see the chat when I share my screen. I don't know if anybody knew that, but so I assume the links have been posted? Okay, or the link? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so this is the 10 ways document, and again, I wanted wanted you to have it so you kind of can walk through it with me, and I'm not going to go through these in great detail, but I just wanted to point out a few things to you about them. So when I look at these 10 ways, I think they can be categorized in three primary ways. it's the role of the tutor, so I'm making sure I'm looking at my notes here. The role of the tutor to actively engage students, right? Showing interest in them, showing respect for them, mentoring students. There's a lot of mentoring, role modeling that goes on in that role as a tutor. And third, and obviously supporting their learning, right? So I said, as you go through these, I think you'll see that that's how they're categorized. The other thing I want to do as I go through these is connect them back to those 4 guided pathways pillars so that you can see those connections. You can see here on the slide and also on the document that we put in which factors, which are the 6 success factors tied to each of the 10 ways, but I'll verbally point out the ties also to the 4 pillars. So these 2 on this page, involve helping students choose and enter their path, right? Asking them about their goals, asking them about their history, sharing your own path, sharing your own experience and journey and how you got to where you are. Can help students find that direction, can help students stay focused, and again, help them select their path. So these next 2, the third one here, getting to know students as learners. Well, that ties to pillar 4, right? Which is to ensure their learning. Whereas number 4 probably ties a bit more to pillar 3, which is helping students stay on the path, right? If you share what you know about being a successful college student, as a tutor, that you're emulating, right? You're role modeling, you're advising. And again, all of that can help students stay on their path. So both of these, again, relate to ensuring learning. So making sure that you are choosing activities that support students' progress and performance, right? And then the 6th one here is extremely important about checking in with students about their understanding. I know in the Student Support Redefined study, we actually asked a specific question about what is the number 1 way that faculty can show they care about you as a student? And the answer was, ask me if I understand. And while that question was specifically about faculty, I have to believe it applies in a tutoring setting as well. Ask me if I understand. That is a very important way and an easy way of showing that you care about them and their success. Okay, so number 7 here relates to, again, ensuring learning by emphasizing the value, demonstrating the value of collaborative learning, and that they can develop their own peer support networks within the tutoring center, outside of the tutoring center, that is within their control, and tutors can help encourage that behavior. Number 8 relates to helping students stay on the path by connecting them with resources that can help them understand how to navigate college. Again, a lot of times our tutors have figured out a lot. They also have access to information because they work with us that other students don't have. And so by sharing what they know, sharing how they've been able to get through, can be extremely helpful to students. And then the last 2, again, both of these relate to pillar 4, which is to ensure student learning. Recognizing students' potential is key. Recognizing their potential to learn is absolutely key to their success. And then asking for their feedback, right? How does this working for you? What is working? What's helping? What else do you need? What may not be working for you? Giving them that opportunity to provide that feedback that you can use to improve your services. So I'll pause again, see if there's anything before I do this final kind of wrap up.
I think we're good right now.
Okay. So I couldn't give a presentation at this time in this space on Zoom without acknowledging the current environment that we're in and what we're facing in the immediate future. we really believe that helping students experience these 6 factors is more important now than it ever, given the additional challenges that they are facing. Whether that's moving to the remote learning, employment, health, childcare, our students are facing a lot of challenges right now. And so as much as we can help them experience those 6 factors, help them feel valued, help them stay focused, nurture them, right? All of those things become even more important at this time. What we must pay attention to is how do we do that virtually when we've been so used to dealing with students in an in-person, face-to-face environment? How do you nurture someone through Zoom, through email, through Canvas, through whatever technology, right? How do you help them find direction? How do you help them stay connected? We have to be intentional about these things because these students still need these things, even if they're not with us physically. So it's incumbent upon us to figure out how to help the students feel, experience these factors in this virtual online environment. And finally, something that came up many years ago doing this presentation, someone raised their hand and said, you've got me thinking. I think I need these factors, as an employee, as a faculty member, as a classified professional, as an administrator. I need to be valued. I need to feel connected. I want to know somebody cares about me, right? So I think we should also keep that in mind, is that we're going to need to support each other as we support students. And thinking about the factors and how we experience them personally may be a way of helping to support each other through this, again, as we support our students.
Dr. Cooper, this is awesome.
Okay. I wanted to leave you with a quote that Vandana shared with me from one of her tutors that I thought really encapsulated it. And I bolded some of the words I wanted to really emphasize in terms of this is how one tutor sees him or herself. And words like friend, confidant, educator, right? That's important. Making students feel heard, answering their questions, sympathizing and empathizing, and being open. So I thought this was a lovely way to summarize the important role of tutors and the critical role of tutor coordinators and, again, learning support professionals in supporting those tutors so that they can support student success. So I have time for questions.
We have a couple of questions here from our board members, and so I'll, Vandana, please ask your question as we have about 5 more minutes left.
I was just commenting that the student success data, how does that demonstrate the importance of these these student success factors? Because I know you and I have talked about what difference it makes, but is there a way to really reinforce that?
That's a good question that we didn't talk about. we should probably talk about that. I think my first reaction is the proof is in the pudding, right? And so both qualitatively and quantitatively getting that information from students about what a difference tutoring makes to their success. I mean, I know I've done quite a bit of work looking at supplemental instruction and talking to students who participate in those programs. And overwhelmingly, there's so many students who say, I wouldn't be passing if it weren't for this. I would have had to drop if I didn't have this resource. And so that's, there's been lots of studies where you compare, students who use tutoring to students who don't. That's the typical thing. There's problems with that if you just kind of do it on the surface because there's no way to necessarily know. We've all heard, it's the B students who go to tutoring to try to get an A. And it's not the F student that you really need to reach. I think that's where most of the work is trying to get more students who really need the tutoring, to take the stigma away, to try to find ways to provide tutoring to them. The other thing I hear quite a bit is that the hours just don't work for my schedule. So how do we get students to use it, but also how do we make it more usable to the students? And then I think I will come through in the success data as we continue to look at that. So that, again, that we're trying to get at what is the improvement, because that's what the tutoring is meant to help improve, right? To help students do better than they would have done without. So not sure if that answers your question, but you'll let me know.
Timurhan has a question on strategies. Could you ask that, please, Timurhan?
Yeah, of course. So I love your strategies. The 10-way stock is amazing. So thank you to you and Vandana. As I went through it along with your presentation, I felt that these were really easy to do when we got to see our students in person, because we get to engage in multiple forms of communication. But Zoom, email, chat, things like that really take away that human element. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or suggestions on best strategies that you've had a chance to see, observe, research on how to do these sorts of things in an online environment where our communication's a little bit more limited.
Honestly, it comes down to intentionality. I will share with you a somewhat not related situation, which is the RP group is a virtual organization. We do not have a physical space. Our staff work from all across the state. And so when I first started working, because I used to work at a college, like most of you, when I first started working in this environment, it was tough. A lot of what you're saying, making that adjustment. How do I do this? And what it came down to is intentionality. It's recognizing that I can't rely on the face-to-face. I can't rely on the serendipitous, bumping into people. I have to be intentional about making those connections. I think that's what it really comes down to. And I think it's incumbent upon us to figure that out and to bring the students in and let them see that we can still care about them. We can still help them, with direction. We can still provide those things to them, but it's going to take more effort on our part, and it's going to take more effort on their part. That's unfortunately what it is. But if it really has to come down to intentionality, being purposeful, being mindful about, okay, how can I do this? Instead of just saying, I can't do it. If I can't see you face to face, I don't know how to help you. We have to figure out how to help students, not just because of this situation that we're in, but online students have existed before this, and we need to do a better job of supporting our online students when we go back to whatever the normal is after this crisis.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. I'm going to shift to Vandana to close us out at this point in time. And then we will continue this meeting or this presentation where we will shift to the ACTLA board. But Vandana, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. I have really appreciated your work with student experience. As you know, we're looking at that student learning experience from very close. And it's great to know that when we talk about effective learning, that does really matter. I know I share everybody's feelings in the chat. They talked about unsung heroes. They talked about all the people that help our students in our center. So we really appreciated the spotlight. Thank you so much. I also wanted to tell everybody that there's a new study that RP Group has just done called Through the Gate about why 60,000 students don't end up going to college or going to university. And that webinar is next week. So I think we can learn from that as well, because a lot of us are either transitioning our students from 2 years to 4 years, or we're at the 4 years trying to, support our students. So I think this would be a good partnership to have. Thank you so much for that study too. I'm really excited to hear about it and read about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope this proves useful. I can't wait to hear people's feedback on those the 10 ways document and the context document. And I really appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you. Our participants are thanking you as well in the chat. You'll see that later.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
You know, for those of you who are going to stay with us for the state of affairs within the ACTLA vision and state of affairs, let's first take a break. And when I say a break, a stretch break, I do this with all my students and colleagues. As we Zoom, we get very tight in the body. If you're sitting down, maybe get up for a minute. Hands up, take a deep breath from your dantian, which is the pit of your stomach. Let that energy flow and stay healthy as we transition here. Yeah, move that neck around, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. Thank all of those who have accommodated you to be in front of a computer today, because I know that my wife and I arm wrestle, and then of course in like who's teaching where and what station, and am I on a laptop? Should I FaceTime my colleagues? And so this is not easy work when we're online, and we have to remember how it's difficult, maybe 10 times more for students who might be working out of a closet, who might not have the Wi-Fi connection that we might have that's more speedy than theirs. And so, and who are struggling with trying to put food on the table. So I want to acknowledge that, and acknowledge all of those who are working with all the dynamics at play. But I'm going to take a breath and have a drink of water. So I hope you do the same. Maybe greet each other in a symbolic way here on Zoom. I'm just doing this off the cuff. Greet each other in some kind of way as you're staring at the screen with all these pictures, and some are live and some are not. I want you all to do that right now. So don't you all run away now. As we come back, thank you for sharing your symbolic and silent way of acknowledging. I appreciate all of you being here in this space. I appreciate all the membership from ACTLA joining us for the webinars that we set up in lightning speed, as we did not have the opportunity to have beautiful Berkeley amongst us. And so I really want to thank you. For those of you who came to all 3 webinars, you get a prize. You get all the knowledge that we shared from our panelists and our board members, and from the collective chat that has happened in the last 3 weeks. And so I want to welcome you to our 3rd and final webinar for this year, for this academic year. We will all go into hibernation as a board and resurface with a plan for next year. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge our past president and our incoming president. This is my last act as president in terms of, yeah, it's my last act. So I have to get prepared here. But we will be talking about what's to come. And so I'd like to recite something. And so here we go. We still have 57 in the room. I love it. So, Miss Lindsay Laney, you are a born leader, determined, humble, a kind pragmatist, utilizing your mother and family spirit to enhance our collective community. We have accomplished much under your tenure. You are worthy and much appreciated. Folks, please give it up for Miss Lindsay Laney, our past president, who has been with us for 3 years on the board. And at this time, I'm not sure if there's anything that's happening, but those are my words.
Thank you, Edward, and thank you all. I'll just say briefly that ACTLA is really like a family, and you know, the entire membership, but also the board. And I have grown so much as a professional by becoming a part of ACTLA, and just from my first conference 6 years ago until now. And I've just improved really my job, and I'm a better coordinator and a better colleague, you know, because of the work that I've been able to do and just learn from all of you. I mean, that is the tremendous power of our community. And I think we have an opportunity, you know, we are challenged moving to an online environment, but we also have an opportunity, I think, to, again, learn from each other, throw out what we don't like, you know, bring in what we do like, and see what's different, you know, and how we can meet our students there, but also meet each other there, because it is a different environment for many of us. So I just look forward to continuing to learn from you all. And, you know, I will definitely still be on ACTLA's heels, and taking and gleaning as much as possible from you all as my colleagues. So thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. So it's time to transition, I believe, to our new president. And so I have some words for, so let me just go ahead. So Dr. Vandana Gavaskar, statewide leader, visionary, tutoring and learning assistance expert. Oh, the places we'll go with your relentless optimism. We are gifted with experiencing your skills. Lead us through uncharted waters. Empower the collective spirit of our commitment to students and the community. Vandana, I received this last year from a board member. I think it was you. It's a Vegas product, and it's a crown. And I want to bestow this crown as a way of the change that you will make with ACTLA. So here you go.
Thank you so much, Edward. I have really appreciated working with all of ACTLA and meeting so many people. It can be a bit lonely on our campus, so we're the singular people in our roles, and it's so great to work with other people. I think Lindsay wanted to share a few words about Edward as well.
Yes, so before we officially transition to Vandana as our new president, as a board, we wanted to acknowledge all the work that Edward has done, then leading our organization this year. And as you all know, just through unprecedented times as a community. So we have created a little tribute to Edward that we're actually going to share with you all here. I'm going to turn up my volume on my computer, and you might also need to turn up your volume on your own computer. It might need to go up. So here you go, Edward, from the ACTLA board.
What do I admire about Edward Fuller? Ooh, there's so many things. Edward is a spiritual force, so incredibly patient, a crisis manager, someone who can calm down a room, someone who can inspire groups of people. There's so many things that I admire about Edward Fuller. Edward is amazing. My favorite memory with Edward is when we were stuck in an airport because we were also the only two people from San Diego. And we were just kind of debriefing about a retreat. And we spent a good amount of time just getting to know each other. And Edward shared about his video projects with me. And I thought that that was something that was really neat. Edward, thank you so much for everything that you've done for ACTLA. Thank you so much for being welcoming. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in and making this a fantastic experience for all of us.
It has been such a pleasure to work with you, and I consider you a good friend after all of our work together with ACTLA. Something that I really admire about you is your ability to be playful, but yet also very productive. Lots of our meetings together, we're able to be personal and connect, but also get a lot done, which is really satisfying. I also really admire your ability to be really honest and true to yourself, and what you feel is the best way forward, but also consider folks different input and perspectives, and I think that makes you an incredible leader. One of my favorite memories of you and our time together is when we were at the ACTLA conference in San Diego, and you took me out and we were able to go have fun drinks with a beautiful view, and then also have an amazing meal at a taqueria, and then hit the town, I think, on the next night as well. So you definitely showed me a good time in San Diego, and that was a really fun memory. So thank you for all that you have done for ACTLA, and I look forward to continuing to work together.
Thank you for your principled steadiness. Can't think of a better person to get us through this year, which was a crazy year, than you. I've always admired that about you. And my favorite memory, I think, was Las Vegas at the conference last year when you had your swatches and we were playing the salsa music in the presidential suite, which seemed to fit you very well. And that was just a great party. So I thought that showed a different side of you that's equally as admirable. So thank you again.
Working with you. Your calm, grounded leadership has kept us moving forward during the COVID crisis, during the cancellation of our conference, and of course, during the process of our developing our online tutoring standards and the certification. Your concern about our well-being has made us feel welcomed and valued as part of the ACTLA family. So Edward, thank you so much for your leadership as president, and I wish you the best.
Hey, Edward, I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for ACTLA as our president this past academic year. You had the unenviable position of moving this organization forward while responding to a global pandemic that's affected every aspect of everybody's lives. I can't imagine it was easy. I can't imagine it was stress-free, but I was really, really impressed, and I appreciated the compassion you showed when you interacted with others. You see people as human beings before their position or their campus and things like that. You were extremely resilient. You worked in the best interests of the organization, of the board, and you really just modeled what I would want to be and whenever I become in the position of leader in any capacity. So I want to thank you for that. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate the guidance you've given me this past year. Ever since I got to meet you in Sacramento at the ACTLA conference then a few years ago, where you took an invite from a group of strangers to go out, check out downtown, hang out. You really showed that you are that dude. You care about getting to know people, their histories, getting involved. That really showed like just who you are as a person. A lot of things that I would hope to model as I further my professional career. So thank you for everything. Thank you for the mentorship. Thank you for the feedback. You were one of the big reasons why I wanted to make sure I got on the board this past year while you were president, because I really did enjoy working with you directly with the tutor forums, digital dialogues, and so forth. So best of luck next year when you're the past president. Hope we get to work together in the future in some capacity. And thank you.
Hi, Edward. Thank you so much for all you've done for ACTLA over the past several years. Thank you for your wonderful leadership. You always take the time to make sure everyone feels comfortable and connected before each meeting, no matter how much is on the agenda, and I greatly appreciate that. Also, you have a very servant leadership style, which I greatly admire and would hope to be like one day. And I also admire your thoughtfulness and your consideration, and you always say nice things when you feel they are appropriate, and not always do people do that. So thank you for that. My favorite memory of you is when we were at a restaurant for the ACTLA conference, and you really took the time to get to know the waitress there, and you made it a point that whether you're wait staff or whether you are an ACTLA board member or a college president, everyone has equal value. And you got to know her well during that time at dinner, and she had so many other things that she was doing besides working in the restaurant. And I have that same mentality, and I love getting to know people no matter where they are in life. So Edward, it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and thank you for all you've done.
What I admire most about Edward is his ability to stay calm and steady during, in particular this past year, that has been very challenging for all of us on personal levels, on professional levels, as an organization. This was a time of a lot of stress and upheaval and day-to-day change that I feel Edward did a really good job of helping to guide us through as an organization and as a team. And it says a lot about his ability to kind of set a tone that at no point during this past year did it feel like things were falling apart. It just felt like things were evolving and changing, so that now we had an opportunity to find new ways to reach out to our collective community that maybe we didn't have the opportunity to look into as deeply or as specifically before. So thank you, Edward, for being a steady and really person-centered president for us over this past year.
Hi, Edward. It's been quite a while since our days at Cal State LA when we were Golden Eagles, or was it Diablos together. What I admire about you is what you consistently demonstrate through your practice, reminding us that as learning assistants and children's services professionals, the importance of not just focusing on the cognitive development of the students, but also focusing on their affective development. That is, their values, beliefs, attitudes, feelings, and emotions. Allowing students to express what they're feeling and being given the opportunity to express their emotions is so extremely important to their learning. Something we tend to overlook or forget to do. Thank you for reminding us. Feelings, emotions, and mindfulness count. Thank you for your leadership. Your friend and colleague, Howard.
Hi, Edward. I just want to take a couple seconds and thank you for your leadership of the ACTLA board this past year as president. It's really been a joy and an honor to work with you throughout the year. I really admire how you take the time to reflect and really bring out the best qualities in those who are around you. I wish you the best for the rest of this summer, and I look forward to serving on the executive board with you next year while you are past president.
I admire Edward's ability to work with everybody, for reaching out and caring and for building a team identity, which we have now affectionately started saying the ACTLA way. He really exemplifies the ACTLA way. He has been incredible in this COVID situation, has helped us to really find our leadership in the midst of all this disheartenment. We were not able to have our conference, but he really helped us to think about webinars as a way to showcase some of the work that we would have shared with our community and building community. That really is a big strength of his. One of my favorite memories of Edward is when we went to his executive suite as president-elect in Las Vegas ACTLA, and there we could see this whole panorama of the city before us, and we all met, we were all new to working together, and we really had a wonderful time. And we also had a little bit of dancing that was so cool. I look forward to working with Edward this year, and I know the ACTLA way is safe and it will be built as we go along, no matter what.
So thank you so much, Edward. We thought that would be perfect for the Edward style of, you know, sharing our stories in the video format. So thank you, Edward.
Thank you so much. If I may, I am a Diablo, and from Cal State LA. Those Golden Eagles, they came after, but I'm a graduate of Cal State LA, so, and I also worked there and knew Howard from those days. But I appreciate the warm fuzzies, and if we do more warm fuzzies in this world, then we may be able to accomplish bigger things. So I thank you all.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank Lindsay as well. We are going to be presenting you with a plaque from the board, and I think Edward is going to read what's going to be on it.
Oh, yeah, where is that?
This is what happens on Zoom. We had told.
Was that my text? Was that my
Yes,
text?
that was your text.
Okay. The plaque, where is it? Okay, here it is. With the ACTLA logo. I don't have the plaque. Does someone have the plaque?
It's going to be mailed to her.
It's in the mail, okay.
Yes.
Well, here we go. It has an ACTLA logo on it, Lindsay, and it's I think it's a wooden plaque. You know, your standard plaque with metal on it. And it says, Lindsay Laney, in recognition and appreciation of your outstanding service as president, 2018-2019. That's it. The rest is there. That was pretty smooth, I think. But it's really your service the last 3 years as president-elect, president, and then past president. So it's really that 3-year commitment of leadership that is quite extraordinary.
And before we open this up to everybody who wants to share at this moment, I want to remind everybody that we are now in the election cycle. And so there'll be a ballot going out for president-elect and the treasurer that we all be voting for. And then we have some positions that we're gonna select within the board itself, which are the webmaster, research coordinator, professional development coordinator, the art at-large representative, and the California Education Advocacy Coordinator. So if you have somehow missed yesterday's deadline, please go ahead and submit your nomination if you so desire. We would love to have you join our family. There's so much work to be done this year. We've got our online tutoring standards as well as certification. And you know, this is going to be a very timely project. And we want to share more research about how our students are experiencing being online. And we want to be able to do all that with everybody. So just want to say that. And I just want to open that up to anybody who would like to share.
I will share. I've been a past president, been part of ACTLA for many, many years, and known many of you. And for Lindsay, I know we've had an opportunity to work together before I stepped out of the board area. But as you all have shared, it is, for anyone who hasn't been part of the board, it is a great opportunity for a learning experience. It definitely has that family feel to it. And so I really appreciate it. Like all of you, it has given me opportunity to grow as well as to make friends. And so I greatly appreciate all of you and for continuing the leadership and all the work that you do, because I know there's a lot behind the scenes that you all do. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rita. People who are on the chat that we would love to hear from. did you want to speak about our keynote or anything that's on your mind right now, since we all have this family together for a few more minutes?
Just wanted to say, just in response to the chat too, and just to welcome all of you who've stayed. I hope it doesn't feel like some kind of exclusive club. ACTLA is open to everyone. And somebody asked a question about, are we open to outside of California? And that's absolutely yes. We are not exclusive in any way. It just used to be that ACTLA was a California community college organization, but it's no longer that. We are actively seeking to include the Cal State universities, the universities of California, but really the whole nation. And so if you're interested, please join us. We just really want to welcome you, and we thrive on the new perspectives. We have to grow and change. So please reach out, and I hope, just want to be as welcoming as possible. Feel free also to get in touch with any of us one-on-one if that's more comfortable.
Yeah, several of our board members are from different areas in the country as well. And it would not be neat to get some international folks involved as well. I know we've seen some in the chat on the webinars. So.
Hi guys, this is Chris. A lot of you know me. I shared my testimony and my tribute to Edward in the chat. And I wanted to ask about the online tutoring standards certification. Is there an announcement that I missed, or is there something on the website that can give us more detail about how institutions and organizations can apply for that certification?
Lindsay's going to address that.
Sure, yeah. Yes, so we'll be doing the formal announcement, I think, by the end of this week was our goal. So then we'll be setting all that in there, but the tentative timeline is on the actual application, and timeline will then start in the fall. So September, it will all go live. But we'll send that out to our whole community, hopefully by the end of this week, which is tomorrow.
That's very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I also want to take a minute to welcome and thank Dr. Dean Woodyard from the Chancellor's Office, who's also here. Do you have any words of wisdom for us, Dr. Woodyard?
Hi, how you doing? I do have some words that I wanted to share. First of all, as a fellow Diablo as well. But they changed the name from Diablo to Golden Eagles, and some of us that were Diablos, we still go with the Diablos. But I have really enjoyed working with ACTLA for over some 3 decades that I've been in the Chancellor's Office. Edward has definitely been a strong leader, but I can say that for many of the leaders as well, and I look forward to working with you and whatever time I have remaining in the Chancellor's Office. I don't even know how long that's going to be, but unfortunately I won't be able to be there forever. But I know that one of the things that I want to be able to do is to support this organization and to make sure that it continues to have a strong role in state policy as it relates to tutoring. And I really welcome your participation, your leadership. You and I have already engaged in a couple of things, so I know that we'll be talking moving forward, but I really appreciate everything that this organization has done. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your environment. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
Edward, do you have any words to say?
I'm sorry?
Do you have anything to address us with in the last few minutes that we have?
No, we'll do it on the after hours.
Okay.
Recording off. I mean, hey, some of you talked about Vegas in that video. And it's like, I thought what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And you put it on a video.
We did not share all of it, clearly.
Nothing scandalous shared.
So I
course
guess
not.
I'll just put in a plug. We're still looking for a webmaster. We're looking for a California Education Advocacy Coordinator. As Dr. Woodyard was saying, that is a very important role, especially as we're going to be facing many changes in California and outside. I know we learn from other states as well, because the issues that we face are also faced by other states. So just want to acknowledge that we are still looking for more family members. And and if you want to, be a part of us, just let any of us know. We would love to include you.
There was a question whether we are having our spring conference in Los Angeles, and we are on schedule to do that, but we all know that with the international crisis, that's really subject to how we move as countries and travel budgets, etc. So as of now, we are planning to be in Los Angeles next spring.
And just in addition to that, that doesn't mean no matter what happens to the conference, ACTLA is also planning on providing more professional development next year, hopefully doing more panels with our student practitioners about best practices from their lens, as well as hearing from professionals on how we've all been working in our centers, our programs with the shift to virtual instruction. So also stay tuned, because we are definitely not going to slow down, and how we want to support each other in the learning assistance community.
And on that note, I know that Dr. Cooper wants to be hosting our pre-conference on student success data with tutoring, which I know we all want to be able to do more effectively. So look for that for sure. All right, Edward, do you want to lead us out for closing our session?
We just can't get enough of you, Edward.
Yes,
well,
Edward, so much
these
love.
are like my last words. After this, I can't speak again, I think. But no, I would just say that be kind to yourself in this still stay at home situation. Do not take it for granted. Be wise, wear your stuff, and that means a mask and social distance. And I can't stress that enough. I have family members who have been in the hospital and have recovered, luckily. And so this ain't no joke. And wherever you are on the spectrum, let's not politicize something that's killing people.
Well said. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll be in touch about our next sessions. Please reach out. Goodbye.
I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Bye-bye. Okay, take care, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Best wishes.
Thank you, Evelyn. It's good to see you.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Woodyard, too.